Today I'm talking menstrual cups and sponges and my experience with them. Hello everyone, Kawani here and my daughter Miyakota, and I'm working on a blog for cups and sponges, and I thought let me jump on camera. It's a little bit more easy to explain on camera and kind of show what I'm talking about. So I'm going to just jump right in. First thing I'm going to talk about are cups, and there are lots of different types of cups, brand names. The two that I'm familiar with is Diva Cup and the Moon Cup from Glad Rags. These are the two I've used. These are the two that I know most about. Again, there are tons of them. You can look them up, but I only know about these two. And I guess I should say also before we start, this is my experience, what I've gone through, what I know from cups and from other women I've spoken with. Everyone's going to be different, so your experience might be different. I just wanted to share my experience. So I'll start first with the Diva Cup. And I started using cups after the birth of my second child, which was about 3 years ago. I had the cup before then, the Diva Cup, but I only used it a couple times. It didn't really work out for me. I didn't really commit to it. And then I got pregnant with my son, and so I said, let me start with the Diva again after that. And it took quite a bit of trial and error, but you know, then I kind of got used to it. One thing I did find out with the Diva Cup for me was to cut off the stem. It comes with a stem on there, and for me, I found that I have a lower lying cervix, and so with the stem it definitely does not fit, and it barely fits this way. I began turning it inside out after reading of some other women that did that, and then I was able to use it without feeling it. That's the only way I can use the cup, is to turn it inside out. This is size 2, the size you use after childbirth, supposedly. I know some women who have had children and they still use the first size or the non-childbearing size, but again, everyone's body is different. So I went through a while using this off and on, never really loved it. You know, kept reading up on it, researching more ways to use it, and it just was not a love. It always felt a little bit off. I loved the fact that I wasn't having to purchase pads and tampons and things, and I loved the fact that I wasn't using, because before this I was using cloth pads, and pads really aren't my thing, and so I loved that I wasn't using those, but it just wasn't great. So then fast forward to when I discovered the Moon Cup at Natural Products Expo, actually last year. So thank goodness I ran into those guys there and spoke with them about the cup. And this is again the childbearing cup, or the cup you use after you've had children. And you can even see here, I mean, it's the lengthwise of it, it's shorter. I'm turning this one back inside, back the right side. It's shorter than the Diva Cup, and so that's why for me, my body with the lower cervix, is I can use this one a lot easier. I still do sometimes turn it inside out again. And I've cut the stem off. It comes with the stem as well. I've cut the stem off. There's no way for me to use a cup with the stem on it. I just cannot with my body type. So this was so much more comfortable for me, and this was when I was like, oh my goodness, okay, I like the cup. The cup's, you know, kind of rocking with the cup now, instead of just using it because I didn't want to use toxic disposables and, you know, contribute to the landfills. So this worked out so much more for me. There are certain times in my cycle that even this is like on the heavy days, even this is, you know, a little bit of a pain because I have to go in retrieving it more often. So during the heavy days it still is kind of bothersome to me, but this is so much better. And so, you know, you'll have to try the different cups and see what works for you as far as size and what works for your body. But these are the two I use. Now, I'm going to get to the sponge in a minute. So I just want to look at my notes here, make sure I talk about each thing. It depends on your body. The sizes do depend on, you know, childbirth, if you had a child, not if you're older versus younger. But again, even some people don't fit within those. So I say get a cup and try it, see how it works for you. And then if not, you know, try and turn it inside out, cut the stem down, cut the stem off, try a different type of cup. Once you try one, you'll have more of an idea of what works for you. And then when you okay, so now I want to talk about why use the cup. Use the cup because you don't want to be inserting toxins into your body, and there are organic pads, organic tampons with organic applicators as well. But still, with those disposables, you're going to have to be purchasing them over and over again, and even the organic ones contribute to the landfills. So if that's something you care about, then you'll want to try and find an alternative. Again, you can use the cloth pads that you wash over and over. I actually have this is a cloth liner that I used when I first started using the cups. And this is a thicker one that there's some thinner ones. This one I don't particularly like, but it's organic and it's bamboo. But there's some different ones you can try with anything else, you know, like with anything else you want to try and see what works for you. But for cloth pads, they just don't work for me. I'm not a pad person. I don't like it from my moon time. So you want, with the cups, they last a couple of years until you have to replace them. So imagine buying, you know, 1 or 2 cups. They're anywhere from they're usually about $40 a cup, I think. Imagine, you know, for 2 years versus buying pads and tampons all of the time. So when you're inserting it, there's all different types of folds. That's the thing with these cups. There's different cups, there's different sizes, there's different folds. You just have to work with it and see what works for you, because, you know, this is, it's not like everyone you know uses these. And so if you're lucky enough to find an online group or find a group of women in person, I have friends who use these, so we can kind of talk about what works and folds and, you know, cut the stem and all that. But if you don't, then it's a little bit more difficult. You'll have to reach out more. But inserting, the way I insert it is to, I believe it's called a C fold, because you just fold it like that. It looks like a C, and put it in. Or maybe it's called the U fold. I don't know. If you turn it this way, it looks like a U, right? A U. But at any rate, I just fold it in half like this and then insert it. And once you start putting it in or get it all the way in, again, depending on your body type, with my low-lying cervix, I cannot put it all the way in and then want it to open. I have to let it start opening as I'm putting it in. And it's a lot more comfortable that way. Then once you have it in, you can kind of twist it and make sure it pops open. You want it open all the way so that there's a seal. Otherwise, you're going to have some leaks in there. So that's, again, a learning curve once you start using it, making sure you have the seal on there, twisting to make sure, you know, making sure everything is in there properly. And for me, like, if this had the stem on it, it would be sticking way out, and it just definitely wouldn't work. Even the Diva, if it's not turned inside out, the bottom of it still sticks out for me. Some people have a lot more space in there as far as lengthwise, but with the low cervix, I just don't. So anyways, you want to insert it that way, and it does take some time not to have, when you're not inserting, but when you're taking it out, it takes a few tries and some time for it not to spill all over the place. You get the hang of kind of, you know, pulling it down and then tilting the cup in the toilet to let it all out. And then you can either rinse it. You don't have to rinse it every time. You want to make sure to wash it with warm water and soap once you know, at night and then in the morning, and you're good to go if you don't have to change it during the day. I don't ever have any times, I think maybe the very last day or the very first day where I just use it once, but on heavy days I'm, you know, in and out quite a bit, which is one of the cons for me. I'll get into the cons in a minute. But it takes some time and it takes some learning, but you do get used to it, and it's not as messy as you would imagine once you get the hang of it. Now when you're in public, some people are worried, you know, how am I going to wash it in public? But you don't have to wash it. Again, you don't have to wash it every time. There are some wipes you can buy. Different companies sell different wipes that you can kind of wipe it down, or you can have your own wipes if you want, your cloth wipes. But when I'm in public, I just, you know, take it out gingerly, tip it in the toilet, and then insert it back in, and I'm good to go. When I'm at home, I can wash it and rinse it. Okay, so the major pros and cons of the cups for me. The pros: it's eco-friendly, non-toxic, which is the hugest plus there. You don't want to be inserting any toxins in your body if you don't have to. Cost effective, you buy one or two every couple years and you're good to go, and there's generally less changing. The cons for me is getting it in and out. It takes some finagling for me still with my low cervix. It just never just, you know, pop it in and run out of the bathroom. It's always a little bit of finagling. And then also I have to do it more often because certain days my flow is heavier and it's never like a one or two time. So those are the cons for me. And then, you know, some cons for other people might be emptying it or cleaning it in public. You get used to it, not a con for me, but that's that. So that is the, you know, my experience with the cups. And now I will get into the sponge, the natural sea sponge. I know there's a few different types of sponges, a synthetic one, and then the natural ones like that come out of the ocean sponges. That's what I'm talking about. To me, this is like as natural as you can get, and that is, where'd it go? Can I have the sponge, please? Generally, you don't want to have your children playing with these, but you know, things happen, right? Okay, so this is the sponge, and it's a natural sea sponge. It's harvested and then treated, and this one I got from Birth by the Sea, and this is like about a medium size. With these sponges, there's no exact size because they're natural sponges, so it's gonna be kind of a small, kind of a medium, kind of a large. This is about a medium size. I have only been trying the sponges for a few months. You know, I'd heard about them and wasn't something I looked way into. I've been using the cup, like I said, you know, for the past 3 years after I got the hang of it. And so, you know, who wants to change and start learning something new as far as insertion and taking out and all that? But I was a bit curious about them. So I got this one and started using it on like the last days of my cycle when I got it, and I was like, oh my goodness, the first day I absolutely loved it right away. And it was easy to put in. There was no like twisting, make sure you get it here and this and that. You just basically, you wet it. When you wet it, you're able to squeeze it up a little bit more. It gets really, really soft when you wet it. I mean, it's like super duper soft. So you wet it and you mold it down. You can pinch it down into the smallest, tiniest little ball, and then you insert it, and you don't have to like try and find the area. You just put it in there, make sure it's all the way in, and you're good to go. And I also feel like when you're putting the sponge in, it kind of soaks up along the vagina as well, so there's like no leaking or anything. And this little sponge really holds quite a bit. I was like super duper excited about that because it doesn't seem like it could, but it really does. And the other thing is, once it's there, you don't feel it. Again, it molds down once it's wet. So small and so soft. Why would you want to use a sponge? Kind of the same reasons as the cup. You know, for it's more cost effective, no toxins, and you're not contributing to landfills. Now this is completely biodegradable, and you do have to replace these more often, about every 6 months or so. You're going to want to get some more sponges. Some people, you don't really want to have one, you want to have a few of them, because for these, when you're out in public in the bathroom, you're not going to be able to wring this out really when you're in the stall. So you're going to want to put it in a wet bag and then do your wringing out and your cleaning when you get home. I did have an issue when I was out, right, Cody? We were out. It was one of my first times wearing this, and I hadn't thought through, because I'm used to wearing the cup, you know, pour it out and you keep it moving. I hadn't thought through how I was going to wring this out and then, you know, rinse it out and put it back in. And so I was stuck in the stall. I mean, blood pretty much everywhere, not everywhere, but on the toilet, on me. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to walk out there with this bloody sponge, and you know, people are not going to really understand this is my sponge, I use a sponge, because most people don't use cups and sponges especially. So I think I just kind of waited till it was quiet, ran out real quick. I couldn't run out with my underwears on because, you know, it was still bloody or whatever. So I just ran out real quick, rinsed it, wrung it out, run back in while they were waiting for me in the stall, my daughter and son, and then I was able to put it in. So when you're using the sponge, especially in the first times, even after that, make sure you have a plan as far as, you know, taking it out, putting it in a wet bag, having other ones available to use. That'll make your experience a lot better than mine was. So that's the cons for me of the sponge, is being out in public, having to carry them around with you, the used ones, and then, you know, having to carry the ones at the ready. That is my con. You can't really clean it when you're out in public. My other con is retrieval, because when this is wet, it, you know, shrinks down quite a bit. You can fold it down quite a bit, and it feels really soft. It feels like the inside of your body. So when you're trying to retrieve this, you know, I'm feeling around to see what's the sponge, what's my body, and then once it's wet, it's kind of hard to get a good grip on it, and I can spend quite some time trying to retrieve this. Once it's in, it's great, but the retrieval process and the insert, it's great, but the retrieval process I do not like. Some people put like a piece of dental floss or string or something in there, you know, like a tampon to get it out, but even that can rip through. You can see here the sponge just kind of, you know, it will it kind of starts breaking apart. This is a few uses, and trying to get it out and like pulling on it and whatnot, and I've had little tiny pieces come off, and so that's the big con. Excuse me, that's the big con with these for me. Okay, so I think I've told you everything about that, or everything in my experience and what I know. I will get more of these and you know, continue to use them next month and the months ahead, because it's only been a few months for these sponges with me. But I'll probably use a combination. Some days I'll use sponges, some days I'll use cups from this point on, because, you know, some days are more conducive to this, some are more conducive to the cups. And that's pretty much it. I'll put more information in the actual blog below this vlog, and some links and things that can help you through hopefully make it a little bit more easier when you're starting out, or if you've been using the cup for years and the sponge for years and you want to tell me what works for you, please do, please share. That's a huge thing with these types of you know, things for women's cycles and things, is we have to share, especially for cups and sponges. You don't see commercials for that every day. You don't hear about that every day like you do with tampons and pads. So we have to share with each other, and you know, share with our daughters, share with our friends, and make sure the information is out there so that you have choices. So that's what it's all about. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye.